Welcome to In Her Voice. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am passionate about helping women live authentically by listening to their inner voice. Get ready to be inspired by women of all walks of life that have set aside their should-bes and not good enoughs and are standing in their true voice, the voice of wisdom that each and every one of us has inside. Hello, everyone. This is Kelly, and you, of course, are listening to In Her Voice. Thank you so much for being here today. I have such a treat for you because today is the first of my interviews in my Visionary Women Spotlight. I am so excited to bring you an interview, at least one per month, that features a visionary woman who is really stepping out and changing the world, making an impact by listening to her inner voice. And today on the podcast, I have Carly Mentlik. She is the founder of the Inner Rainbow Project. Let me read her bio to you. Carly Mentlik has been teaching, counseling, and creating curriculum and programs for children, tweens, and teens for more than 15 years. Carly has a bachelor's dual degree in special and elementary education and a master's degree in counseling with a specialization in girls' emotional and social development, both from New York University. Carly integrates Western psychology and education approaches with her trainings in Eastern mindfulness, yoga, chakras, and creative expression modalities. She founded the Inner Rainbow Project and created the Chakra Girls, with the mission to empower young girls with the confidence-building tools needed along their path through adolescence. And we have such an amazing and juicy conversation, and I wanted to introduce all of you to Carly, not only because she's doing great things in her business, the Inner Rainbow Project, in serving tween girls, and I recognize that most of you are not tween girls that are listening to this, but I really want to highlight how she, as a visionary, is pushing through her resistance. You know, we have this huge conversation on what it feels like to be in resistance. And Carly shares some of her challenges. She's super transparent with this, and I think it's just really inspiring to listen to a woman who is making an impact talk about how it's challenging and how she works through that. That is where we can really learn how to step out into our own vision. You guys are going to just really, really love this interview. Carly is just a beautiful soul, and I'm so excited to share this with you. Before we get to the interview, I want to remind you that January is my month of connection. That's my personal theme this month. And in keeping with that, I wanted to ask you, are you signed up for my newsletter? I send out a newsletter once a week with, just a connection. I'm really honestly just sharing from my heart. And it also has links to whatever is going on this week, the new podcast, or if I have some sort of special thing that I want to share with you. So if you are not receiving that newsletter each week, and listen, I know your inbox is full. I know it is. But I want to be connected with you. And when I write these emails each week, I really sit down and get into the space of I'm talking to my best friend. I'm sending you, not everyone, I'm sending you this note. I just love doing it. It helps me feel connected to you. And if you want to feel connected to me in that deep and meaningful way, then I encourage you to sign up for the newsletter. The link to do that is kellycovert.com/newsletter. So that's super easy to remember. And there's also a clickable link in whatever podcast app that you are using. So you can do it while you listen. And I so appreciate you in doing that. And I thank you for wanting to connect with me and really helping me with my own personal theme this month of connection. So let's get right on to the interview with Carly Mentlik. Carly Mentlik, I'm so excited to welcome you to In Her Voice. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be speaking with you today.
Yeah. And I feel like we're going to have such a juicy conversation already in our little talk beforehand. It's like already going super deep in the first few minutes. So
I can't help that. That's one reason why I wanted to talk with you.
I'm the same way. And you guys that are listening are in for a treat. That's for sure. So Carly, I wanted to talk first about you and the Inner Rainbow Project. And I thought maybe we could start with you just sharing a little bit about this amazing thing that you've developed, and then talk about what got you there.
Yeah, it's simple. We can do that in a short amount of time. Yeah, the Inner Rainbow Project, it's funny because I'd never really share exactly, well, what does that mean? What does Inner Rainbow Project mean? And so to really start there, because it kind of shares the essence of what it is so the Inner Rainbow, I see it as not only because I teach the chakra system and there's a play on that, but what really to me the Inner Rainbow is someone's full true self in all the different colors and all the different shades, and that women, especially females, especially, or that's the journey that I'm really focused on helping with, earlier and earlier in their lives start to dim certain shades or start to hide certain parts of themselves because they learn the message that part isn't going to be acceptable, that part of their true self isn't going to be what gets them love and acceptance. And so they start hiding it or they start dimming it. And so what the Inner Rainbow Project is, in essence, is a movement and a celebration of that true self and a movement to help it stay alive and to not for no girl to ever have to dim themselves or their light in order to feel that they need to do that in order to fit in and to essentially be loved. So that's really what the project is. And it's something I've always been passionate about, but I definitely, I wasn't as focused on it. I had a business called Mandala Learning, and I worked with homeschool, and really in a similar way with education, trying to bring access to all the parts of education that we don't have access to typically. So that's another part of what the Inner Rainbow Project is: social emotional intelligence, creative learning, personal development, all the stuff that's just not in the regular school curriculum. And the way I got to the Inner Rainbow Project specifically is I had a private counseling practice, and I was doing all this work in person, mostly with young girls, also with moms and women. And then I found out I was going to have a little girl. And so I decided that I wanted to have a business that I could be at home with her. And I really just dove in with what was really lighting me up the most, and I was really the most passionate about. And then it's just been evolving from there. So the Inner Rainbow Project, it's basically a baby that's about the same age as my daughter, who's 2. And so we're all growing along together.
I love that. And I love that you're teaching and focusing specifically on tween girls.
Yeah.
And when you talked just now about that idea of when we're that age, we tend to dim the parts of us that we think are not going to be acceptable. Carly, it took me right back to 7th grade. Right back. Yeah. And I remember I was really, really good student. I got straight A's, and that was not cool in 7th grade. And I remember lying about my report card to my friends. Like, I didn't tell them what grades I made because I was embarrassed that, like I was too smart or, and I think that we all probably have a story like that. And I think it's so powerful, even as women, to go back to that place and to remind ourselves that we don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, and that is in terms of that is the women that I work with, and same with, I know that that's the women you work with that are really ready. Like, it's intense. That, it might seem like, if you take the emotion out of her, you just say it like, oh, I lied about my report card when I was in 7th grade. But it's a huge thing that could transform. That's you determining my intelligence is something that I need to hide. Some part of myself is something that I need to hide. And then where do we, each one of those little times where we get that message, or like, okay, I'll just keep it quiet about this, or I'll just, it's no big deal. I'll just pretend. I'll just go along with this, and I think that really is where the power is in helping our girls transform is us doing this work and changing the story.
Yes. Well, if you don't mind going deep and personal, can
absolutely.
you share one of those moments from your own life?
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's so many. Well, what's interesting is that the more work I do, sometimes I'll, I love working with all different kinds of teachers and healers, anyone who's interested in exploring different kinds of dimensions of consciousness. So wherever I could get a new message, so sometimes when I'm working with some of those people, memories that I didn't think were that powerful to me, or I didn't remember as traumatic to me, they'll come up, and it's like, wow, that how can, I'm still remembering that little 6-year-old. And a lot really is similar to what you said. I was really advanced. I was really gifted growing up, and I knew that right away. So I have all these memories that I can see. Those are my first ones that I could see when I'm 5 or 6. And I get the sense that I need to be right. So it actually was kind of separate. It was me getting the idea that this is how I'm known as. So I'm the smart one. And if I don't meet this, then everything else is, I'm not worth that. So I had that initially, and then it really does. It was all of the classic, like by the 7th and 8th grade, with the relational aggression and not, I didn't attend. I went to a very small private school until high school. I begged to go to public school because I thought that was going to be my ticket to real life, or whatever I thought was going to change for me there. But I didn't go to the last 3 weeks of 8th grade because there was some fallout that I had with something that happened at my house, and I couldn't manage the situation, and everyone got mad at me. And when everyone got mad at me in a class of 12 people, that's everyone's mad at you. And I wouldn't go to school. I absolutely refused. I wouldn't go. And it was definitely a huge point for me in terms of, now looking back, like I break it down. I think, oh, could have my parents have done so that, like, what could I have done? What skills could I have had? What if I was able to speak up for myself? What if I felt confident enough to walk into the school and speak my truth, And so I think back, like, what would I have needed? What would that little girl, and it breaks my heart each time I think of you as that little girl. Like, what could that girl in 7th grade have needed to be able to say, hey, I kicked ass. Look at this grades I got. Look how awesome I am. And to be able to say that, and not feel like I'm conceited. I'm making people feel bad. So yeah. I mean, and there's lots of them, and they happen still when you're an adult too,
Oh, sure. I feel like we're always coming up against those moments of choosing.
Yeah.
And it's easy to go back to the way that we've always done it because that's what we're used to.
Yes.
So how do you teach girls and women to heal from these things?
I mean, I would love to, but the real mission is that that there aren't wounds created that need to be healed from. But of course, that is an ideal situation. But in terms of, that's what I'm really seeing. Like right now, I'm running a challenge that is about raising confident and kind girls. And I know that there's a huge piece of what I do that's really about the women themselves. Like going in, just like you said, revisiting those times. And also this continual, consistent work on your own self and your own confidence. And so that's always been a huge piece of what I do. And I know it's important, but the more and more that I'm hearing the voices of the women that are participating in this, and the things that they're sharing, and how the work, the content is flowing out, it really is going back to the women needing to do the work on their own and to really believe in themselves, and to do that inner work, and that radiates out to their daughters. Doesn't mean you don't need to teach tools for empowerment to your children. Absolutely not. But the example that you would be giving, just your energy by yourself, being able to speak your truth, be able to step up and, tell a friend when you, something feels uncomfortable, anything that you want to be able to, your daughter to learn, is to be able to model that, for yourselves. And in terms of how to do that, it's hard. It's really hard.
Amen, sister.
It takes us all, working together, a consistent, constant, when you said it's, I thought of a quote that I really love. And I like the quotes that bring a reality to, like, it's not just you, because if you do go on and you're like, I'm going to become a confident woman, and then you're just out on your own, you could think that you have no chance. There's no one else struggling like you. There's no one else. So really a lot is about community, and that, realizing that other women feel that way too, that when you see somebody that seems to be presenting this air of confidence, they're probably doing a lot of hard work as well. And they probably have a lot of struggles as well. So it's one, bringing reality to that. And it is the consistent kind of hard work, and realizing that it is always going to feel, the quote that I was referring to, it's for like a Buddhist psychology, where it's, it feels comfortable. I'm butchering it. I can't remember it, but the idea that it's always going to feel comfortable to retreat back to what you know. And to not take this step towards learning more. So I have to keep that really high. There's also a Dave Matthews quote. So it's like anything that helps you, anything that when you are at that point of having those light bulbs go off, where you're like, yes, this is truth. It's like collecting all of those gems. So the Dave Matthews, that was when I was about 20, 21. His lyrics were very, philosophical to me, and kind of, that was my first, so it was, I want to stay in this corner wondering if a change could be better than this. And then I wonder, are things going to really be better than they were here? And so it's that, courage.
Yeah.
To walk out of the corner.
Oh my gosh. I love that. And it's like you're reading my mind of what I'm going to ask you next.
Oh, wow.
Because, what I really hear you saying is that you have a mission. Your mission is to help girls, young girls, from being wounded, from having to dim their light. So you have really created a vision for yourself. And my first question is, do you think of yourself as a visionary woman?
That's so interesting. I really honestly hadn't thought of it until you mentioned it to me. You said, we were preparing for this interview, and you said, I really want to excited to work with visionary women. And you said that that's what I was. And I said, oh, yeah. And it still is. I've been going through, I've been going through huge struggles, and kind of having to do those extra leaps with my own confidence, being ready to be a leader in helping women do this. And so even it's like, I'm still trying it on. It's like, oh, I am a visionary, but I still have to, it's still one of those things, to be honest, where it's like, that seems like conceited. Yeah. It's like, it seems conceited. And that's a huge thing to me, that I get so angry about that idea of, that that it's sharing your gift freely and something that you're so amazing at and talented. And we all have unique ones that all need to come out in order for things to really change. And it's the idea that, one would have to hide that. So yes, the answer to that is yes, I see myself. I'm starting to see myself that way. I'm stepping into seeing myself that way and believing that that's who I am.
I love it. And I mean, that's absolutely how I see you. Like from the moment that I first met you was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What amazing things that you're doing and seeing as being possible in this world. And to me, that's what it means to be visionary. My second question after that is, how do you stay connected and present with your passion, with your vision? What are you doing daily or weekly to stay connected when you bump up against those uncomfortable places?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big part of it initially was foundational. So like when I was trying to explore things or get a job in things that I didn't have that driving passion for, it was harder to keep the motivation. So now that I'm in a space where I truly always think of this concept that I love from this visionary speaker, Andrew Harvey, this concept of sacred activism. So it's taking what just breaks your heart. Like it just breaks your heart and it gives you that fuel in your heart and gives you that fire to be able to burn through a lot of the resistances initially. So the fact, and it took me a long time to step into like, okay, I'm going to follow this path and I'm going to give this vision a chance. I'm not going to, just stay in the corner and just, I don't know, get a regular job, quote unquote, or whatever I, thought that was. So that's part of it is really allowing myself to follow something that I'm truly passionate about. So again, that gives kind of the momentum to burn against the resistance. But it really is the consistent and the constant practices that are throughout the day, to remind me. So I'll have like anchors, whether they're, for me, a lot of them are actual tattoos on my body or a bracelet, or it's a certain essential oil that I'll diffuse or a quick yoga pose or a mantra that I'll have chosen for that day to keep me, or a song that I put on. Or a lot for me, it really is looking at my daughter and just going back to like, this is why you're doing this. So when I get caught up in whatever it is, or I get caught up in attaching to the results. So I'll find something that's challenging to me and I'll do a project to kind of work on that specifically. So for example, like reading the Bhagavad Gita and studying that and transcribing all the lines in it that are meaningful to me, teaching yoga classes on that, teaching others. That's something that, say, for example, helped me get past attaching to the results of things. And I'll just have to bring it back. It really is the consistent practice and showing up to do it, because it doesn't go away. And that's why I love yoga a lot, because it's just showing you, it's coming from the beginning point of our minds are going to do this. We are going to resist. We are going to try to go back. So that comforts me to know that it's like a natural feeling and it's just part of the journey. And I'm going to, that having to push through resistance, there isn't some ideal place that I'll get to. And I'm just going to be this visionary, sitting on a mountaintop or a cloud and have no challenges. So knowing that that's always going to be a journey helps me go forward and find the motivation.
It's so true. Well, and how does your resistance show up for you? What does that look like?
That's an interesting question. It's like when you say resistance, it's, anyone who is on a path of personal evolution. It's like you're saying resistance, almost like it's like it has its own quality, like it's a person, anthropomorphized or something. But what is it? How does it come out? I mean, a lot of the times, I struggle with anxiety a lot, so it'll kind of all come together, and the resistance will just kind of be my brain shutting down, or it'll be like just kind of going back into that corner in my mind and just starting to have this internal dialogue of like, no, this isn't going to work. A lot of it's negative self-talk is resistance for me. Or if I'm on a path and I know that this is important when I'm working towards, and I know that the vision is important, and I'll sometimes get caught up in, the typical Facebook, like comparing or feeling like that. So I'll have a resistance to, I'll second guess what I'm doing and decide that I need to do something else. So the resistance will come up kind of, in this like almost a fight or flight, like I want to just kind of leave my path that I know is important. And so it's, again, always having to first even realize like that's happening.
Yeah.
And then be able to go back to it. And it is like how you're saying, it almost kind of like it's like almost like an annoying friend. So it's like, it's just like, get out of here, stop, So sometimes even those kinds of like a quick tapping or a quick just word at this point can move me from resistance back to my path. But that's after practicing a lot, where it's that the word stop can just trigger to me all those truths that I know and get me back on.
Yeah. Well, and I really appreciate you for being transparent and vulnerable and sharing that with us, because the women that listen to this podcast, I think, are like you and like me. They are amazing. They have unique qualities. And I believe that they are visionaries, whether or not they're ready to call themselves that yet.
Yeah.
And so to be really honest that this stuff still comes up. Here you are, you've already created this amazing thing. You're doing this amazing work in the world on a daily basis, and it's still there. And that's okay.
I mean, it's almost, and I take it to a place of where it's like laughable at this point, because I'll sit and I'll be like, wow, I literally, there's a points where I used to do counseling. I counseled 30 people today. I did blah, blah, blah. I did blah, blah, blah. And then I'm sitting, feeling bad, doing all of the things, not implementing anything I've just taught anyone all day, and just, falling back. And so it's like, wow, if I have all these skills and my whole job, my whole life is devoted around this, and I still struggle. It's, it's definitely also something I want to share too, because it's not, again, it's one of those shades of us. So it's not something huge I want girls to understand, is that you don't have to hide different aspects of your emotions, that being sad or angry or having anxiety or depression or whatever it is not something that's shameful.
Yeah. And I think too, this idea that sometimes feeling those things, like the resistance for me, and I'll just share too, since you're being vulnerable and transparent, for me, a big way that resistance shows up is procrastination.
Oh, well, I didn't even identify that, but 100%.
Yeah. Yes. Like I could find 1,000 things to do that have nothing to do with the thing that I'm being called to do. Totally. And I really have to check myself on that. And I think that sometimes if we're not acknowledging that that's part of the journey, that we think that that's the thing that's keeping us from being able to say, I'm a visionary, from being able to say, I'm worthy, that I'm here for great things. And I 100% think that that is false.
Yeah. And because, we're implementing these things on ourselves as like a form of self-sabotage to hide our light. But I've been working on that too, because it's a protective mechanism in a sense to protect. There is still this like embedded fear, at least I'll speak for my own self. So say I have something that I know is amazing and I know I want to share it, I know it's going to help so many people, I'll still have a fear of taking that step to share it, to have to see how it's received and have opinions on it, that then I will implement something else in there, just procrastinate away, so I don't have to follow through and experience the highs and lows of whatever it is that I'm sharing, and it's a form of, protection of trying to not, because whatever we think or whatever I think would happen, what would people think of me or think less of, or I don't even know, sometimes I don't even know what the really, if I really thought about, what do you think's going to happen? I don't know.
Yeah. And that's what's scary too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
True. True.
Well, and I love one of the things that you have on your website.
Yeah.
And, listen, ladies that are listening today, even if you don't have young girls in your life, you should just go check out Carly's website. We'll link to it in the show notes and on your podcast app, because there's good stuff on there. And one thing that I loved, and I'm definitely going to link to this blog post, was 108 positive affirmations for tween girls. And I read the whole list, and every single one of them, I was like, yes, we need this. I wrote down my 3 favorites. And
great.
And the first one has absolutely everything to do with what we're talking about right now. And that is, I am allowed to feel proud of myself. That is something for me, even as I say it, I'm getting emotional, because when the way that I was raised was, don't brag, be humble, pride cometh before a fall, nice girls don't, make other people feel less than, right? Like, I had so many messages from my parents at an early age, from like saying those things, literally out loud to me, saying those things. And that's hard programming to break, to shift. Yeah. But I think if all of us can really own that, I am allowed to be proud of myself. I am allowed to say, I'm freaking amazing. Look at these things that I'm doing. Look at these dreams that I have. Look at these ideas that I have. They matter.
And it really also, if we can embrace that, it really can do the opposite of what we fear that it's going to do. That message of, don't make anybody feel bad. If you're nice, don't make anybody feel bad with your gifts. It really has a chance to light and inspire other people to show their light too. It's like, I can't remember all these quotes that are the reason I love quotes, there's just gems. There's this one from Marianne Williamson where she's, that it's you having that permission to feel that pride and to share that. It does give other people that inspiration and belief that that's okay for them too. And so if we all adopt that, I really believe that's where change is going to happen, or is happening.
It is happening. You're exactly right. It is happening. My second favorite was, I am allowed to be different than my friends. And I don't have girls. I have 2 boys, but this is one that I'm going to start speaking with them, and encouraging them to understand that it's okay. It's okay to be different, especially my 11-year-old. He's in 6th grade, first year in middle school. And it's like, God forbid you say something that goes against what everyone thinks, or that you play a different Xbox game, or, everything seems so important at that age. And to just really remind them and ourselves that that's okay. In fact, that's what makes us beautiful.
And that little thing, like you're saying, I think that's amazing that you're, right then, if you can, at that point of where it seems like, okay, well, big deal. I'm not really playing the Xbox game that I want to play. Well, it actually is a big deal, because each time you think, it's a little dig and a little something that you hide under and you think isn't a big deal. And they do add up to then somebody who gets the message that their true self isn't okay. And we have, it's hard. And it's hard to counteract that, but it does work. And I just think that the consistency and the showing shows somebody that you believe in who their true self is, so even if you can't counteract, like your son, I don't care what you say, I have to play this game, just showing, like, bringing it into the space that you're allowed to be different. Yeah.
And I think as parents too, and not even as parents, only as parents, but as like adults in this world where we have children that look to us to see how we react to things, to see the things that we are speaking in our own life, that it is so important to lead by example. And that's why all of us need to go read the posts of 108 affirmations for tweens, because that we were once that little girl. And going back to heal that little girl and to love on her and to remind her that she's amazing and that she doesn't have to, like you say, dim that light anymore or go underground anymore, that it's okay. And my last favorite, which was the last one, and nobody's going to be surprised by this because I say it all the time, is that we can change the world. Carly, I believe this so much. And when I read that, I was like, yes, she gets it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see in there's specifically a section that instead of I statements, they're we statements because, that's part of it as well. That it's not just, I this, I that. It really is we.
It's so powerful. And I just want to say to you, thank you. Thank you for being brave enough to follow this passion, to say, I am a visionary, to say that this matters and that I will do it even if no one else does. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It really is an honor to speak with you. And like I said, I respect and honor your work and the bravery that you have. So when someone, a lot of times it's easier to see yourself reflected in someone's eyes. Sometimes it's harder, but it means a lot to me that you see me that way. And
oh
it
my
helps
gosh,
me see myself that way too.
I totally do. Well, so why don't you let everyone know how they can get in touch with you on social media and all of that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. My website, is innerrainbowproject.com. And that's basically my hub. Facebook, I love to share things that empower women, empower girls. And if you do want that affirmations poster, I have posters of the affirmations because I believe that I'm about to share those as well, because I really do, whether you go on the blog post and you copy some of them down, I think writing them down or having those, making your own list, but just having some visual reminder for yourself of the things you want to remember and the things you know are true, I think are so important. But yeah, you can find me on Inner Rainbow Project, and I'd love to hear from people too. So you can email me from there as well.
Awesome. I'm going to go buy myself one of those posters, put it up in my studio and remind myself that
it will be my pleasure to send you one.
I'm allowed to be proud of myself.
Yes.
I love it. So I always like to end with one last question, Carly, and that is, in your life right now, what is your inner voice saying to you?
Ooh, when you said it, what came up is I can do it.
Yeah.
It really did. It really did. And I just got my daughter a t-shirt that says, we can do this. So she's going to help me too. But I really did. That was the first thing that came up. I can do this.
You can.
And I think we all need that one too.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that with you, that you can do this. And I see you doing really, really amazing, great things now and far into the future. So thank you so much for your willingness to show up and be you and use your gifts in this world.
Thank you. You as well. It was such a pleasure speaking with you.
Wow. What an amazing conversation and what an amazing visionary woman. I am so grateful that through this podcast, I get to meet women like this and that I get to share them with you. I hope you guys loved hearing from Carly and feel inspired and ready to go out and take a step towards your vision. You know what? I really loved what she said about this idea of how when we're that age, that tween age, that we tend to go underground, that we dim our light. That really moved me because I have had that personal experience. And I just want to say to you, you don't have to dim your light anymore. You don't. You are amazing and wonderful. And we want to know every amazing, cool thing that there is to know about you. We need you to shine. We need you to shine. So thank you so much, you guys, for listening today. I so appreciate you being here. Remember that this is my month of connection. Please feel free to send me an email at at kellycovert.com, or you can connect with me on Instagram. I'm at Kelly J. Covert, and you can let me know what you're loving about In Her Voice, what you would love to hear more of, what topics or what guests you would like for me to interview, and I will absolutely create an episode for you. So please let me know. Email me at kelly@kellycovert.com or connect on Instagram. And guess what? There's clickable links in your podcast app, so you can literally do that right this second. Don't wait. I want to hear from you. Remember, you are amazing, and we need you showing up in all of your greatness, in all of your qualities, with all of the quirky, unusual, imperfect, amazing things that you can do, because you are worthy.